It was a house fire that police and emergency services were responding to on May 11, 2011, in rural Redwater, Texas, but the police quickly realized that something was just not right. When they arrived at the scene, the bodies of 34-year-old Amanda Doss and her two children, 11-year-old Guinevere Doss and 8-year-old Texas Johnson, were pulled from the burning home on that day. Incredibly, the parents of Amanda Doss arrived at the scene before emergency services, responding to a phone call from their granddaughter, Guinevere, screaming for help, and were able to pull the body of Guinevere out of the house, sustaining burn injuries of their own that had to be treated at the hospital. Unfortunately, she was already dead by that time. They watched as the house burned to the ground, knowing their daughter and grandson were still inside. Although the victims were so badly burnt that their injuries were not immediately evident, gut instinct told the responding officers that these deaths were not a result of an accidental house fire. Once they started investigating the scene, what they found only furthered their suspicions. After autopsies were performed on the bodies, their suspicions were confirmed. All three had died from violent injuries inflicted prior to the fire. All three of the victims had been stabbed to death before the house was set ablaze. The fire, which was now determined to have been arson, was only set in an attempt to mislead police and cover up evidence. Detectives realized that there was a seriously brutal murderer on the loose, and unfortunately, they had no real suspects. After months of investigation, they were still no closer to solving this tragic and heinous crime. It was a tip that was called into police that would lead them to the killer. Even after the smoldering remains of the house were confirmed as arson, and the community realized that this was no tragic accident, but a cold-blooded, brutal multiple murder, no one seemed to have any idea who could have committed such a horrid crime, or why anyone would have wanted to murder Amanda, Guinevere, and Texas. No one would ever have suspected who the culprit was, a 16-year-old girl. Almost as shocking as the identity of the killer was the identity of the person who turned her in. Rachel Pittman was turned into police by her own mother. After 16-year-old Pittman was arrested, and the immediate shock wore off, the question on everyone's mind was simple, and just one word: why? Unfortunately, at this point, the public does not have an answer. Due to the circumstances of the case, a judge has placed a gag order, so not much information has been officially released to the public. The only facts we do know: Rachel Pittman knew the victims, although no motive has been disclosed to the public due to the gag order. The Dodds have publicly elaborated on that to say that Rachel was a family friend who worked for Amanda and babysat the children. Pittman lived just in August, over 3 months after the crime. Rachel confessed to her mother, then called police and recounted her daughter's confession. Rachel then went willingly with the police to the station, where she again confessed, telling them details about the murders that had not been made public. They said evidence found at the scene backed up her confession, including cartridge casings, a pocket knife, hair, and blood samples. She was then arrested and charged with capital murder. People find it hard to believe that this was solely the act of a 16-year-old girl. They believe someone else had to be involved. The disbelief isn't just expressed by people who knew Rachel. Even friends and neighbors of the victims have questioned if Rachel could possibly have acted alone. Police, on the other hand, have stated that the evidence indicates otherwise. Rachel Pittman, they say, acted alone when she brutally murdered Amanda Doss and her children. A detective on the case has stated that they do not expect to make any more arrests. It doesn't appear that Rachel herself has accused anyone else of being involved, or indicated to police that she was in any way coerced to kill the Doss family. Unless another arrest is made, or until the facts come out in trial, rumors will continue to hover over this case. Because she was 16 at the time of the crime, Pittman would not have been eligible for the death penalty if convicted, but she did face life in prison. After initially claiming insanity, Pittman withdrew her insanity defense and pleaded guilty to 2 counts of the lesser charge of first-degree murder. Bowie County District Judge Leon Pesek, Jr., sentenced Pittman to 2 life sentences with the possibility for parole after 30 years. She will not be able to appeal her sentence. Her attorney says that Pittman was tearful while on the stand answering questions before the sentencing, explaining that she did not agree at first to the deal, but changed her mind after seeing photos of the victims. Pittman also hung her head down and cried as Amanda Doss' father tearfully spoke, saying that Amanda had trusted her, recounting how they had provided refuge for the teenager when she ran away from home and even invited her to Thanksgiving dinner.